Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, it's Sunday. It's that time to finish the Fantastic Four, the last part of it, which is Shika Houston, Coach Hurd, Principal Cafele, and yours truly with this lady right here. Hey, Josh Todd, Principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA. Ready to learn from this roundtable. Hey, you know what, Marty? A couple of weeks ago, we had a superintendent roundtable. We've had speakers talk about ISS and how to improve it. We've learned about depth of knowledge questioning to rethink reevaluation. We've had a group of tenured teachers talk about how they're surviving after 30 years. And then we've had retired people talk about it. And it just keeps on coming and coming because this is a bank of knowledge. But you know what? Let me gain some more knowledge. How are you doing, young lady? How are things in H-Town?
H-Town is surviving. We are resilient. It is H-Town strong here in Houston, Texas. And you know what? The Paris Olympics started on Friday. So, you know what? It's just a great time all around for, Team USA. So super excited. I think the U.S. already won their first gold. So I know after this learning opportunity for all of us here today, I'm going to run downstairs and get on that TV because I love watching me some Olympics.
Awesome. Hey, you know what? Normally, I'm always sporting my MPA Jaguar. It doesn't matter where. I'm always sporting my school colors, but today, just a little switch. The new merch. You'll get yours, lady. You'll get yours. The PGP podcast T-shirt is in town and taking out the guns with some ganas on there, making sure you're ready for them colors. Been going out there, sending some merch too. Past team members that have joined in the show. But you know what? Another thing like to help out. Hey, remember everybody, shameless plug. My book is out. Also, not as good as Todd Bloomer's book is going to be, but we've got 23 author educators that poured their heart. So this is a great way for you to get started this upcoming 24-25 school year. And yours truly is now, I'm a published author. That's right, baby. That's right. So grow your why is one of those things. But you know what? How do we grow better? By learning from the best. And if you, as Kiss always says, you want the best, you've got the best. So let me bring principals from Texas, from Illinois, from Tennessee here. Welcome to the PGP podcast. Hold on, they're coming on. They're coming up here. Right there. We have all the guests in town. Welcome, everybody. And so we'll get started directly by making sure that I believe in telling people, hey, I got the street cred. I bring the knowledge. You know what? Whenever we go to conferences, either a state conference, a local conference, or a national conference, don't you sit back and you look at them. When was the last time you were in the trenches? And you think about that kind of stuff. Because are you just telling me a philosophy because of your PhD, or are you actually living it? But you know what? These guys right here, they're living it. So, gentlemen, as I call your name, please introduce yourself, what titles you've had, what positions you've had in education, and which one was your favorite one. Simple. What titles, which one, and how long you've been in education. Let's start off there with the Mustangs in Saxe, Texas.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm Shae Creel. I'm the proud principal of Saxe High School here in Garland, Texas. So I've been in education for 28 years. The last 8 have been spent right here at Saxe High School as the building principal. Before that, I was a principal of an elementary for 1 year, an AP for 9 at a different school in Garland. All 28 have been in Garland, by the way, and I was a teacher and coach here in this district as well. To pick one of my favorites, they're all different. Teacher and coach holds a special place because of that relationship you have with the kids each and every day. Coaching is just great. AP, hardest job I've ever had, but it was really, really rewarding. So I'm blessed to have a good team of APs. But man, I love my job right now, and it's probably my favorite. I just love it.
I like to tell everybody one thing, that being an old man, even though I'm older than that young man right there, just to let you know that there's far few high school principals that put in the legwork like that guy does. He is in everything. He's not, there's some, I always tell the truth. There's some people that only go to sporting events. There's only people that only go to certain fine arts events. This cat is everywhere. Well, that Mustang, he's not a cat. He's a Mustang. He is at every single last thing, whether it be the little ones, whether it be the big ones, at home or away. Much props to you, Shae, Creel, bringing the fire to them Mustangs. That's why they love you, and you control a city of 3,000 kids. Kudos to you. Frederick White from Tennessee, talk to us.
Greetings. I'm Fred White. I am a principal at Bellevue Middle School in Memphis, Tennessee. I have held the position of teacher, sub-teacher, teacher, assistant principal. I did the teaching thing for about 6 years. I did the assistant principal piece for 5 years, and the remainder has been as a principal. Once again, I'm only 25 years in, so I'm still young in education. The best job, I have to say, as you said, each position has its high points, but I think there's nothing like being a teacher, actually being in front of those kids and seeing that light go on in their eyes when they learn something. And I think our job as principals is to make sure they have an environment where they can get that done. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Illinois himself, Mr. Principal from outside of Chicago, Mr. Efrain, Dr. Martinez.
Hola, buenas tardes. Thank you, Josh, for having me here, and congrats on your book. That's an amazing achievement. I have been, this will be beginning my 19th year in education. 9 years 6 years as a teacher, 3 years as an AP, and I will start my 10th year as a principal. Absolutely, hands down, I always wanted to be a principal, so being a principal for me is the best job.
Awesome job. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Todd Bloomer, soon to be author of a great Road to Awesome book. Todd Bloomer, talk to the people.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Todd Bloomer, San Antonio, Texas, Winston Churchill High School, proud principal. 6 years, a high school principal, 29 years in education, 16 or 17 as an administrator. Favorite job was about a 6-year stretch as a teacher and a coach at a middle school that fed my high school. Some great people, some great kids, some great experience. If I could go back and pause time, I'd go back to Eisenhower Middle School circa 2000, about 2006. Glad to be here.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts. Dr. Moreno, take it away.
Josh, do you know, I was just doing the math. Do you know we have over 30 years of principal experience on this call? And then that's not including us, right? That's just 30 years for our guests. So I am super excited to talk to these fine young gentlemen who are still sitting in the seat today, and really excited about starting the school year for the 24-25, because guess what? It's just around the corner, y'all. It's just right around the corner. But I am super excited. But you know what? I want to know a little bit more about, I've heard, what roles you guys enjoyed, and how many years as principal. But, we always want to know what motivated you or who inspired you to be an educator. Let's go ahead and start off with Todd.
Hey, thank you for asking that question. It's a great question. And it goes back to my favorite days in education. I arrived in San Antonio in 2000 after 4 years in Houston. And the lunch table that I sat with was some of the best educators and people I've ever been around. And, Nick Saban talks about sit with winners. The conversation is different. And the conversation was totally different at the lunch table that I sat with in my, years at Eisenhower Middle School. And I had some folks that were going on to get their masters to become administrators. And they really inspired me to want to do that. And so I dragged along a couple others, kicking and screaming, went into education, haven't looked back since. And so really just being around great people that inspire you to be the best that you could be, just like, for example, this, podcast that we're jumping on right here, and just people on a Sunday afternoon getting better to chop it up to, to be the best that they can possibly be. And so really just being around great people and wanting to aspire to be great was the reason I jumped into where I'm at today.
Well, thank you, Todd. Dr. Efrain Martinez, what do you have to say? Who inspired you
Um,
or who motivated you?
my story is I was always in the principal's office. I was the right one of the kids that was in trouble at home and then would go to school and create trouble. So I was always in the office, and I remember a principal who took the time to have conversations with me. She told me, remember, there's only some things that you can control and some things that you can't. Only focus on those ones. And of course I didn't get it, but it stayed with me forever. So that's where I wanted to be. I just wanted to be like her.
Oh, that's good. See, sometimes I'm not going to say it's always good to be in the principal's office, right? But I mean, you learn something from that, right? Something good came out of that. Awesome, awesome. Dr. White.
My story is sort of, I guess, the reverse of inspiring. I was in school and a teacher. I had written a paper, and the teacher brought me before the principal and asked, "Who did I steal my words from?" Um, I thought at that time, how horrific for you to be in front of an educator and her supervisor, and that's the way a conversation goes. So I just thought to myself at that time that, kids deserve better, especially, kids that were in deprived areas, kids of color, especially also, that, something had to change with that outlook. So, from that point on, I, positioned myself in a place where I would, take my education courses and, went on to my terminal degree, and I've been doing the educational thing ever since, and loving it.
Awesome. That's the best part, right? We got to love what we do, right? We're in the people business, and that
Exactly.
means we have to love the people that we serve, right? So awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Shae, not you. I know you're my last one asking, or I'm telling them today, but tell me what's your story, Mr. Shae.
So mine's a little bit different. My first year of college wasn't real successful. Didn't know what I wanted to do. So came back home and went to a community college, and I thought, I'm pretty good at math. I'll do some accounting. And I was sitting in an accounting class, and man, I hated it. I was like, is my life really going to be in a cubicle doing numbers all the time? And Buddy and I went to lunch, and I said, man, I can't stand it. I don't even know. I don't know what I want to do. He said, well, why don't you teach and coach? That's what I'm going to do. So I went and talked to an advisor. What's the quickest way for me to get out? And we came up with a way for me to hurry up and get out of school, and it was teaching and coaching. And I taught everything at a middle school level from Spanish 1, which don't ask me questions because it's been a long time. But I did that, career investigation to health and PE and special ed. And a principal said, you got a pretty good toolkit right here once you go into administration. And that's kind of just where it took off. But I was originally not going to go into education. I thought it'd be some accountant. And yeah, that lasted about a month, and I had to get out.
Awesome. We're going to talk a little bit about alternative certification in just a little bit, because I know that's something that impacts all of us on this call today, and a lot of people that are out listening to this podcast. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But Shae, just exactly how you came in through education, through alternative certification, same thing, right? That's kind of how I came in through. So awesome. Go for it, Josh.
So let's peel the onion a little bit more about who these guys are. Because you know what? A lot of times people can better connect with us if they know who we are. Because that's what we tell our team members, right? Make sure that the kids are able to connect with you. Find that one thing. And when we tell our stories to them, then they're able to make that hook. And once we make that hook, they're ours. They will walk on fire for us. Every great coach tells you that. Every great band director tells you that. Every great dance teacher tells you that. Make that connection with them, and they'll do anything for us. So let's peel that onion a little bit back there. Fred, how are you as a student? We heard a little bit about Shae right now. How are you as a student in high school? How are you as a student in college? And don't fake the funk. How did your parents' support and love take you to your current position? So how were you? And then we got to always mix in our parents, whether it be a good situation or not a good situation. The parent involvement to our professional life is very crucial and important. So talk
Right.
to us, Fred.
Well, throughout school, I guess grade school through high school, I was a decent student. I wasn't, at the very top, but my grades were always A's and B's. So I was a decent kid. The little trouble that I got in was, of course, just childish. Childish things, getting caught kissing a girl, things of that nature. But those were the only things I got in trouble for. But I ended up once I got to college, every institute that I've been in, I've graduated with honors. I took education very seriously because I was paying for it. My parents. That's a as you said an onion there. My dad was really not in the picture. He was there to congratulate and say, "Hey, I had a part of this when after I graduated each one of those levels." My mother, of course, was loving, very supportive, but financially, most of that was on me. I worked 3 jobs all the way through most of my educational experience. Normally something on campus, and then a different job here and there. So not having that financial support is different. I talked to a young lady, and she said, when I was going through college, it took me, of course, to get through my bachelor's. It took me 4.5 years, and I heard a young lady who her parents were paying for school. I don't know how anybody doesn't graduate in 3 years. I said, wow. So it's been a different road for me, making sure that I took care of everything myself. But I enjoyed the process, and it made me the person that I am, made me the educator that I am also. So I'm always trying to make sure that my kids are, taking the ACT, getting grants, getting the loans, getting whatever they need to be successful when they get ready to go to college. So that's me.
Dr. Frederick White, I'm starting year 32. And when you just said you only got in trouble because of kissing girls, I don't know, all of us smiled. Because we picked up, hey, we've dealt with enough discipline, Dr. White, that there might have been a couple other things there. But you know what? Thanks for sharing, my man. Thank you, brother. I don't know. I think you're faking the funk a little bit there. Todd Bloomer, talk to us. How were you as a kid?
Both my parents were educators. And so I always tell people I went into the family business. But I only applied for one college. Like I was just an average student, matured later in life. Great encouragement from my mom and dad. I grew up in New York, moved to Houston, and then San Antonio, and my parents have followed me here. So matured in college, really figured out what I wanted to do in college, and that was teach and ultimately be a coach. Applied for jobs all over the country and ended up in Houston, Texas. Didn't know a soul there. Went there thinking I'd do it 1 year in Houston. Ended up meeting my wife, getting married, and having a family. And so my parents both live here now. And so, I followed the family footsteps, became an educator, and now I'm a Texan. And I'm proud to say my parents live down the street from me. So if you watch Anybody Loves Raymond, Everybody Loves Raymond, my parents are right there. And so they're 250 yards from me right now as I currently talk.
Uh-huh. Hey, Todd, where did you go? Where did you work here in Houston?
So I lived in Katy, Texas.
Okay.
And then ended up moving out to Brookshire, Texas. Teaching and coaching out in Brookshire, Texas for a couple of years. And then moving to Northeast Independent School District out in San Antonio.
Yep. Awesome.
Dr. Efrain Martinez.
So I think as a kid, other than being in trouble, I was chasing female students, pretty much always rejected. I didn't pay much attention to schooling. I was just trying to take the test, pass, and move on. I didn't really value the learning. I was not until 10th grade that a teacher had this oratory group, and I was assigned there because I was getting in trouble, and the principal thought that would be something good for you. And that's when I started imitating great figures and how they spoke and how they moved their hands and how they used the verbiage, that I started saying, oh wow, this is something I really like. And from there, I started taking things more seriously. Up in college, I think I went back in my ways of trying to do the bare minimum to pass and searching the 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 female students until, of course, I met the wife, and then I started taking things seriously, and that passion that I had for the learning during that year of oratory came back, and I now consider myself a wisdom seeker.
Nice.
Awesome. And that's why I highly encourage everybody to his brand of podcast is totally different than what I've seen and heard. It's a very intellectual one. I'm not saying that the other ones are not. I'm just saying the way his approach is awesome. Greetings to the godfather of the Fantastic Four, Principal Cafele. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you for wearing your shirt the other day on inside of the airplane. Love it right there. Shae Creel, talk to us.
So for me, my grades were good. Now I was the class clown. I did just enough to push the envelope. I mean, I got my share of licks every now and then for doing crazy stuff, but and I tell the kids that, like, I've been down that road. I've been in this seat. So, but my grades were good, and you here in Texas, you got no pass, no play. So you had to at least walk that line, tight enough. College first year was not great, and then I got it together after that. Once my dad said either you stay and pay or you can come home and we'll figure it out. So I came home and figured it out. Coming home really wasn't coming home per se. Came from a divorced family. My mom moved out to West Texas a week after I graduated. So kind of at 18, I've been on my own ever since. With some help along the way, but my parents always encouraged me to just chase my dreams, and that's kind of what I do. And but just kind of been out on my own for a while.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Welcome, Coach Hurt, the starting hitter of the Fantastic Four on Saturday at 10 a.m. Coach is the man to go to about breaking down all that data, whatever part of the United States. That's cat for you right there. So call that guy if you need any help on how to break down data and do the growth part of your report card. Welcome, brother. Love you.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna one day. You said Saturday, Josh. I'm gonna have to wake up on a Saturday morning and do that because I definitely need to do that. I need to check it out because you talk so highly of him, and I need to listen to that podcast for sure. Hey, folks, you guys, I'm listening to y'all's story, right? And then I kind of listened because, I too was in that chair, not too long ago. I since left, but it's amazing how we take our own personal stories and we use them to kind of educate our kids, right? Our kids in the building, right? Whether we were bad kids and we want to make sure that they don't turn out like we were and how they need to kind of get out of this, right? Or, inspiring them because we too become parents of our kids, right? Helping them filling out the forms and getting them into ACT and those kinds of things. So I'm just really, really excited and impressed, right? That we all have different stories, but we all kind of funnel this all to support our kids. My question to you guys right now, because here we are, July 28th, August 1st. Many of you guys are starting your school year. And guess what? We probably, maybe not all, maybe all of us, I don't know who's at 100% staffed right now. No, not yet, Josh. Come on, man. What's up? How many? 1, 2? 2. Okay. 2 is good. 2 is good. You have 2 also? You need 2 more? So it's just that you have 2 as well. Okay. So right now, teachers are we got to love our teachers, right? Because it is just such a difficult time for them. I know it is and we want them to be excited and get them energized to come in for another school year and welcome their kids. But I really want to talk about those teachers that are coming in with alternative certifications. I came in as an alternative certification teacher, right? My degree is not in education. And it's very difficult sometimes to help a teacher that didn't come in through the education field, right? Growing up and doing all the lesson planning and those kinds of things. So my question to you is, one, how are you addressing teacher shortage at your prospective districts? And then how are you supporting these teachers that are coming in through alternative certification? And I'm going to go ahead with Shae. Shae, we'll start off with you first, sir.
So, just like everywhere, we're having the shortages. We've had, I can't tell you how many job fairs to just get in front of people to see who's out there. For the most part, in our district, the retention rate, if we can get them here, it's been pretty good as far as the retention piece of it. Once I get them here on my own campus, what we're doing is the district provides us this thing called Project Goal to kind of mentor these new teachers and things like that. But well, we kind of go a little bit deeper. We have our own set of administrators that really work with one of our teachers who leads this up, and we're in and out of those teachers' rooms every week just to check on them, especially early on. So having that project goal piece, but also the layer of the campus support, because what happens is we get into as y'all know, we get in that fast-paced work, and then you forget, oh, that teacher's new, they don't know. Yeah. So we're try to be really intentional of checking on our teachers, and we're doing some things different this year, cross-curricular, so more eyes will be on them early on to try to give them some more support.
Shae, that's so important, especially I know I do a lot of professional development with teachers, right? And I just did one just last week, and they're energized, they're excited, they're coming back, to another school year. But some of them, as you mentioned, they're brand new into the field, whether it's their first year graduating with an education degree, and we have others that were accountants and other professions coming into the field. So you're absolutely right. We need to make sure we kind of keep a pulse right on them and making sure they're being supportive. So it's good to hear that you have a plan in place, sir. You have a plan in place. Dr. Frederick White, what do you have? What do you have to offer us today?
Well, first of all, as far as the shortage goes, my admin team knows that everybody teaches. So if we do have shortages that we can't cover with our experienced long-term subs or anything of that nature, then one of my admin team will teach a class. Last year, my optional coordinator and my facilitator both taught classes because we refused to have shortages in the building. So if that means I need to teach a class or my assistant principal needs to teach a class, then that's what happens. When we do have what we call in our district FOS, fresh off the street teachers, for those teachers that did not come through an educational program, first thing that we do at my building is when I do the master schedule, I create a period where they co-teach with our lead teacher in that core area. So my new teacher in English would have one period where they co-teach with my English department lead. And in that way, they get to see that person start the year off teaching, and hopefully it's in the same grade level. So they get to see exactly what needs to take place in their classroom, and they can sort of emulate that throughout their day. As the year progresses, that lead teacher then falls back and is more of an observer in that class and watches and coaches them up so they know, hey, these are the things you can tweak. That's how we do them for their first year. Their second year, they just have that person that will come in more in their classroom since they won't have that co-teaching period. So we try to put as many eyes on them as possible, give them all of the support that they need, and provide them with the right professional development.
I guess this is the first time I've heard of something like this. I mean, I'm sure it's out there, but I mean, I just love the fact that from day one, they're already getting that support, having that co-teach opportunity. And I guess if it fits in the schedule, why not, right? If it fits in the master schedule, have that opportunity for them to co-teach already, because they can learn so much from having that experienced teacher in the classroom, because they're going to pick up some of those best practices as they're working, especially what we all learn as first-year teachers is classroom management, right?
Right. If we don't make
Gotta
great
get that.
teachers, I mean, no one's coming to our rescue. So if we don't make our great teachers, they won't come.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you for sharing, Dr. Martinez.
So thank you. That question is close to my heart. I was also an alternative certified teacher with Chicago Teaching Fellows. When I went to college, I wanted to do literature, psychology, philosophy. It was not until later that I decided to become a teacher. So I went through the program, and I knew how to do a lesson plan. I knew how to prepare stuff, but nobody really told me how to make students feel that they want to learn from you and do activities. So my first several years as a teacher, I was so upset because I was like, I have invested all this time, all this weekend, all this preparing my lessons, and the students don't want to do something. And the best way I support those teachers, not only the ones who come through alternative certification, but just like beginning teachers, also teacher assistants, lunchroom assistants, reset assistants, it's like to sit with them and try to have conversations with them on how children learn, how children take directives, how children think about the way you react and you position your body, your face, your facial features. If you make them feel nurtured, if you make them feel value, they are going to follow your lead. But if you make them feel any opposite, especially in districts where there's a high level of students living in poverty, then in many ways you're playing a game that they are better than you, and they are going to dominate you, because when you live in poverty, you're always fighting things that make you feel oppressed. And if the teacher assistant, the lunchroom monitor, etc., make you feel like that, they are gonna go at it. So supporting them in that way, I have found is a very productive way to make a school better, because by loving the staff, you love the students.
And that's so important what you just mentioned. You said, not only are you taking care of your teachers, but you're also taking care of your teachers' aides, your other folks that are in the classroom with them and learning, making sure that they're learning as well, right? Because they're valuable employees as well, right? They're very much part of the fabric of our schools. And so I'm super excited that we take care of all of the people in the school, because it takes a village. It takes all of us to help educate our kids. Todd, what do you have to say about alternative certifications and the teacher shortage?
I do think that alt cert is the future of hiring. I don't believe we're going to get the numbers that we used to get from the institutions, the colleges, the universities that we once got. And so I think our future is going to be someone who's gotten into a job and then wants to change a pace, maybe because their children have a schedule and they want to get on the same schedule as their children. So a couple of things that I do in my community to try to encourage people to think about education is probably 3 or 4 times a year in my newsletters to parents, I talk about getting into education. And so whether that be, are you in a different district and want to get in our district, or are you in a job that you want to get out of the cubicle? You talked about a cubicle, get out of the cubicle and be in with your kids and get the same schedule as your kids and potentially work with your kids. So I think our job is to really make it desirable for people to leave the 9 to 5 job to get into our job, because it is very, very difficult. I do think we need to look at all of our new teachers and current teachers as irreplaceables, and that we can't lose them. And so if we mark like what is our accountability or our score, if we work at, the last 2 or 3 years, we've hired 25 or 30 teachers and we've only lost X number, like I think that's the number we need to really chart for teacher retention. Once we get them on our campus, as we mentioned in this podcast, they're pretty good about staying because I think that we all develop a pretty good culture, a
Mhm.
climate where we treat
Mhm.
people with respect. But I think that first year teacher, if us as the principal, if we're not in classrooms, if we're not taking a personal interest in their well-being and their success, then we're missing
Absolutely.
a mark. And so as I'm getting ready to bring in, I'll say 30 new teachers, maybe more, maybe less, like I need to retain those 30 for next year. Because if I'm
Mhm.
just constantly hiring, in that cycle, I'm never going to break it. And so creating that culture and then supporting those teachers, great mentorship, great support, but also building them up and championing them from the principal. And I've never realized as much as a principal, like people want to hear from us, see us, and have us in their classrooms. And that's just not new teachers, but also veteran teachers. And so I think really taking that approach and saying to us, if a new teacher leaves, it's on us as the principal and really taking
Absolutely.
that growth.
I'm going to throw this question out and anybody can answer this because I think it's important for those people out in the world who's listening to this podcast, whether live or, streaming it later. But I think I've heard of principals say to me, oh my God, here I am losing another 20, 25 staff members again, right? So sometimes I want to say, well, sometimes we have to look in the mirror, right? We have to kind of look and check ourselves. As a building principal, I would feel sometimes that I, as a building principal, am responsible for not able to retain my folks like that, right? So my question, and again, anybody can chime in. What would you say to a principal that has this large turnover year after year? Like, what would you say to this person as far as some, and it's some hard criticism, I get it, right? It's not an easy conversation, but what would you say to that person who's listening out there who has to fill these 20 positions again? Anybody?
I will
Oh,
say,
go ahead.
go ahead, Frederick.
I think I would just let them know that it definitely starts with self-reflection, and part of this is being willing to talk to your teachers or allow them. I used to do a survey for teachers at one of my schools where I would it would be a blind survey, and they would just tell me some of the things that they truly dislike about the school. They could be as harsh as they want to, and I would take that. Now, of course, when you get some of these things, it's going to be, hey, it's going to be some selfish things. But some of these things, some of these nuggets are things that you as a principal need to go ahead and look at, analyze, and see how you change within yourself. Uh, After I started doing the surveys, I would always then form a culture and climate team. Now, this team was responsible for making sure we did celebrations, making sure that our school, that our faculty sort of vibe together to have relationships. We would do things. I think a couple of years back, we did axe throwing. We did all of these types of activities together just to show them that we work hard together, we play hard together. Um, uh,
Yeah.
Once again, just self-reflecting, having an open mind and thick skin to let your teachers tell you what they think is working or not working in your building, and then build a team that works on the culture and climate of your building. So you'll know what the kids need, what your teachers need, what your TAs need, what your cafeteria staff needs. So if you do that, you'll have a better chance of keeping people there because they like the people they work with. They like you, or they like your type of leadership because they know that you're open to listening.
Thank you for sharing. Dr. Martinez, you had something to say.
Yeah, I mean, Frederick said, well, I think that if you are a principal, you probably became an educator thinking you wanted to make a difference in the life of children. But as the principal, you're like the coach. Your players are your teachers, your staff. So you really had to emphasize your energy in the adults in the building. So for that, several things. One is do some research on emotional intelligence. How self-aware are you on the attitudes and demeanors on how you are treating people, how you're making people feel? One idea that I got from Dan Bauer is that in your weekly newsletter, have a anonymous survey. I call it glows, grows, and blind spots. And in an anonymous way, you get continuous feedback for people. Of course, at the end of the year, There might be two glows that people are going to put there, but all the things that you are seeing or a blind spot, you have no idea. People are going to put it there because people want someone to take care of it, right? And in that way, you're always in constant, like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. They never stop practicing. You're always polishing your skills in supporting the teachers in the school so they feel, wow, I had an issue. I didn't want to say it in public, but I said it. It was fixed. I like coming here. And when you have a teacher that likes coming to school,
Yeah.
that's how you make the difference with the students.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I felt it was important. And if anybody else doesn't have anything to say, I think it was important for us to kind of at least help that principal out there that just kind of feels defeated, year after year, where they keep on having to replace. And I get it. Policies, procedures, all of that is, it's just the name of the game, right? But I think being transparent with them as well, sometimes having them understand that, you know what, this is kind of what's going on in life. But, how do we gain trust from that, right? So that we can work together to support our kids.
Can I jump in for 1 second? I do think that, I have 160 teachers on my campus. And so, when you talk about maybe an elementary school losing 20 or 30, that could be devastating. Prior to the pandemic, 20 was the norm. And I do think post-pandemic, like nobody wants to sit in traffic anymore to commute to a school. And I do think like there are factors that go into teachers leaving your school that are out of your control. If I'm going to commute 30 minutes to my school and all of a sudden I realize I could get a job in my neighborhood school and have a 5-minute commute or a 10-minute commute, I think people post-pandemic have realized that family time is so much more important than driving clear across town to somewhere else. And so I do think that is a factor to take into place. Granted, every teacher that leaves my campus, it hurts me. Some more than others. Some I'm okay with them going because they've either got a promotion or they've moved on to a different campus. But it's not all the principals doing. And I think sometimes like we can't beat ourselves up because we feel like we have failed somebody for what we do. I can only imagine that everyone on this screen creates an atmosphere where people want to work at. People feel valued, they feel respected, they feel like professionals. And even with that said, if I'm going to drive an hour to get to work, I may say, you know what, as much as I love your campus, I'm going to go closer to home, take a pay cut or take a pay raise, who knows, but because I want to be closer to home and be with my family for dinner. And so while I do think it's terrible that we lose people each year because we invest so much in them and it's a people business, we become part of the family, sometimes it's out of our control.
Yeah. Totally get it. All right.
Don't fall asleep on me, Moreno. Did he mesmerize you with that question, with that answer? Why are you falling asleep?
I was impressed that they all had like they had a solution or they had something to say. I mean, the surveys, I think a lot of folks do surveys. I know I did surveys at the end, just to kind of reflect, but yeah, it's just a hard time. I know, I don't know of any school that I know of, right, is that 100% right now. So it's just a tough time.
All right, I'd like to welcome, finally, thank you. This is the first time I've had all the Fantastic Four in one call.
What?
From South Carolina, Shika, thank you for being here. From Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. Yeah, Sean Hurd, everybody's here. Thank you for being here. And I like the philosophy, before I get to my next question, is this. Jimmy Casas loves to say, why do we do anonymous surveys? Why have we not created, as someone sitting in our chairs, that relationship to where we could have those awkward conversations face to face with people instead of make it anonymous? Because if you're willing to have the wherewithal to sit in the chair, you also have to have the wherewithal to have those awkward conversations. You know who the weebies are. Hey, Shae, do you know who the weebies are? Have you heard of the weebies? Yeah, Efrain, have you heard of the weebies before? No?
Never.
There's a small group of people on your campus, the weebies. We be here before you, we be here after you. Okay, those are the weebies, all right?
Efrain was all like, yes, I know what you're talking about.
Right. And
For
so the
sure.
whole thing.
And that's why I have to push back with Jimmy Casas' advice, because what I have found is that when you have that conversation that you say, let me be honest with you. Uh, you are doing X, Y, and Z, and it's terrible for children. You get people that say, "Oh, I feel unsafe with you," and then they go to a teacher's lounge and say, "You know what the principal just told me? Sometimes, I will tell Jimmy, sometimes it's better to have that complaint anonymously and work behind the scenes with the people than telling people directly, because there's one thing about society is that people cannot accept the truth when they're in denial."
I agree with all that, and I guess that's where each person that sits in our chair creates their own gumbo on how to make that connection. We all have our sauce. We all have our way of how to communicate to see what those blind spots are. I love that. I'm gonna steal that. I love that. Thank you. And that's the whole purpose of the PGP podcast, is to get ideas like Fred. That's master scheduling with a brand new teacher with experience. Awesome. That's the purpose of this show. I love it. So now all of us here, again, we've been in the trenches for just one day or two. And all of us were measuring those temperatures. All of us had those little spots where we were asking him those questions every single last day. All of us had those plastic screens we were cleaning and wiping. You know, something broke. We all know that. That's part of the exodus. Something broke after that. So as we hire these team members, whether it be through the college route or outsert, whatever it might be, we need to grow that leadership ladder. Because even us, we're leaving. Gen Xers, we're leaving. That Creel guy, he wants to leave. This guy wants to leave. We're already at that stage. The thing is that it creates a huge vacuum of knowledge, of experience, when you get people that are not ready to sit at the next level of chair. We know that for a fact. So my question to you guys is twofold. Number one, Creel, how do you prepare your classroom team members for leadership? What do you guide them in? What do you tell them so they could reach that next level? And what do you coach your current APs so they could get the main chair? So the question is twofold, Creel. What do you do to talk to those that have it? We all know, not everybody. We know the recipe for success, just that not everyone has the ingredients. So what do you talk about, or to those people that can be leaders sitting in your chair, and the people that are right below you that are learning from you? Go, Creel.
So for me, I think there's a lot of things that I don't do very well, but I do think I hire well, and I can recognize people that have that, I'll just call it, that stuff in their neck that it takes to be a leader. And seeing those people real intentional with my admin team of, we meet as we talk about teachers and like, who do we see moving into department chair roles or into our leadership roles? And then we just have real intentional conversations. Like, I'll just go to them, and, nobody likes to get that email of, hey, come see me. But it lights a fire under them. Hey, come see me. And they're like, oh, what does he want to talk to me about? So I kind of perk their interest that way. And I just have this is where I see you. Like, you've been here 2-3 years, and man, it's one of those things that we just have those intentional conversations. But with my admin team, I'm not a micromanager. I'm probably the king of distributive leadership, because my job is to try to get them out of here if that's what they want. So I handle the things that I need to handle, but I also put them in very tight situations when it's Title IX stuff or appeal things and academic things. It's like, they'll come to me. I'm like, figure it out, come up with a plan, come up with a solution, and let's talk before you actually put it into motion. But I push a lot of that stuff, and my secretary, she knows, she's been with me the whole time I've been here. And when they come to me, she's like, what have you done? So she even my admin team, it's one of those things that I hired those people because I trust them. So I'm going to let them go. And if they make a mistake, then we'll regroup and move on. But I mean, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not afraid to call people, or now I'm going to expand to where I call people on this call right here. So because I've heard great ideas. But that's kind of what I do. I'm real hands off, and when we have the conversations, they're just real intentional about the things that we need to do and what they want to do.
Perfect. Awesome. How do you coach them, future leaders in the classroom and your APs, Efrain Martinez?
So I have never been able to inspire someone like, hey, so and so, I see that you have all these skills. They're always like, no, I don't know in the future. Now, when people come with the inkling of saying, I want to be an administrator, I think that is so important to really extend your arms, to give readings, to always say, hey, you want to talk about leadership? You want to talk about this? Here's an article. Let's have this conversation. And sometimes it can be a little bit pushy because people sometimes they say they want something because they're in love with the idea of being a principal, being an assistant principal, but they don't realize the work that it takes to stay there. So with the assistant principal, other than the regular like part of the weekly converse, I have a weekly meeting with my assistant principal. It is so important. We start the meeting always with glows and grows. What is going well? Where are you succeeding? And where are the parts that you are failing? And we emphasize the part of failure because it is through the conversation of failures that we become better principals. So that is so essential because we are always on the go, always in the go. But when we take time to actually reflect on the practice, is where we get better.
Beautiful. Great thoughts. Dr. White.
So for my assistant principal, I guess I'm blessed because I've been a part of, yeah, several individuals that have gone on to become principals. For my AP, I always make sure, my assistant principal, I always make sure that we have conversations about our budgets, so she knows how to do the financial piece. A lot of people don't, talk to their assistant principals about the financial pieces of it. We talk about the curriculum. We talk about the hiring piece. When it comes to hiring, she sits on that team with when we hire any teacher, when we talk about changes in the budget, or we talk about spending money on refurbishing anything or doing anything, I bring her in and I let her know what that conversation looks like. So anything that I do, I try to bring my AP in so she can not only see but give her opinion on also. And if she gives a thought or an opinion that, hey, let me show you, if you did do the way you're thinking, how that could go wrong. Now, I see how you're thinking, but let me also tell you how that could go wrong. Now, the roles that she holds as principal, assistant principal, when she does discipline or anything else that she heads, I back her 100%. I never correct her in front of others. If I think she's done something wrong, that's a conversation that we have, because I want everything that she does to be a learning piece for her, because I want her to be great. As far as my other teachers go, I ask all teachers if they are interested in being a part of the administration, if they want to be an administrator, that they let me know. If I'm out, if my AP is out, I pull those individuals to do administrative duties, because I want them to see what the seat looks like. The AP seat, the principal seat, people always want to do your job. They think they can do your job until you put them in a position where they're doing your job, and they get that, they get the parent that comes up and just is out of control on 100. They get the child that doesn't want to do what he wants to do. They get one of their peers that is off the chains. And then they come back and they say, okay, I rethought what I told you. This might not be what I want to be in life. I may not want to be an AP, may not want to be a principal, but give them that experience. Let them see what it looks like. We have a couple of pipeline programs in our district for individuals that want to be administrators. I pushed my people toward that. If they truly show that they really want this and they've sat in one of those positions, or they've been pulled out to do the work and they stood strong, I pushed them toward that door so that they can, grow.
Thank you very much. Great. Push them to grow. Push them. And you know what, Dr. White? Everybody wants the chair until they sit on it.
Right. It looks
good. Everybody's that Monday quarterback. Everybody until they sit on it.
I believe they think we just sit in the seat. I don't think they actually see the work that goes on in the seat.
Yeah, my
Or the
kids say,
problems that come along with it.
why you drink coffee and eat donuts all day long? Absolutely. It's like the most misunderstood profession.
Well, hey, Todd, tell them about the profession. Go, coach them.
Just like everybody brought up, you breathe life into people that you see leadership potential in, and I think you encourage them to take the next step. I do think there's not many people that want to do what we do anymore. If you truly think about all the good and the bad that goes into being a principal, why would somebody want to do that? It's kind of, I told someone the other day, everything that you do right is someone else's praise, and everything that goes wrong is because of you. And if that's the high school principal route, at least what I've kind of seen. I also told someone we must make the job look really, really easy, because lots of people think they could do the job. And that's not saying that we're supermen or anything, but like the job is difficult and for what we do. And so I do think our job is to prepare the next seat. This is year 29 for me. And when I leave, I want to hand off the battalion and the keys to someone that can take the place to the next level that I couldn't take it. And so that's on our AP team. And that's, I think, honestly, our job is to make sure we introduce and we praise the people that we're working with so that others see them in that role. And then I think our job is to put them in that role, so people see them as not just an assistant principal, but as a school leader. And then throw the deal back, the classroom teacher. I think we need, to encourage them, as Dr. White brought up. If we're assistant principal out, who can we bring in to be a sub assistant principal for a day? And who can we say, I could see you doing this one day? Because I think if we all look back, somebody tapped us on the shoulder and said, hey, I think you should be an assistant principal. I think you should be a coach. I think you should apply to that job. So I think our job is to breathe life into them. And then if and when they don't get that job, to be able to provide them skills and put them in position so that they can get that job that they want. And so I do think our job is to find that replacement for us at any point.
Tons of knowledge out there. Tons. Dr. Moreno, take it away.
Oh my goodness. You know what? This is going to be like my favorite question, because I know all of you have more than just one story. And so my question is, tell the audience out there about a success story that you had while serving as a principal. So I'll start off with that question first. So just pause and think for a second. What is a success story that you had while you were a principal? I'm going to go ahead and have Dr. Martinez start first.
Well, when I began as a principal, I went to school, did a entry plan, and went to the interview and presented the entry plan, and they say, okay, you got the job. And I began my entry plan without consulting anyone. I changed the student handbook. Everybody, the students, the families, the faculty hated by then Mr. Martinez. There were parent demonstrators in front of the school asking for my head. And it was truly devastating to feel, oh my goodness, I always wanted to be a principal, like that principal that inspired me, and I have failed. And I gave it one more shot, got enrolled, went back to school and started studying emotional intelligence and personal relations and loss of power. And I realized that I was not thinking about how my words were landing in the people I was trying to lead. So I would say stuff like when I was giving feedback to a teacher and I would find a difficult teacher, I would say, but remember, students come first. Not realizing that in the mind of the teacher, what they were receiving was like, what, you don't think I care about children? Let me teach you how much I care about children. Mm-hmm. And it was always talk of war, and it was awful. And I went back to the principalship in the same school, And I went from literally the principal that people wanted to get rid of to Illinois Principal of the Year. And that was for me a testament that doesn't matter how many times you fall, you can stand up, but you cannot stand up with the same exact strategies that you have been using, because obviously you cannot get different results if you use the same strategies. So always evolve.
Awesome. That is such a powerful message there. You got to get up and do something different. Obviously, you can't be doing the same thing over and over because you're going to get the same results. Awesome. Todd Bloomer, what do you have? What success story can you share with all of us?
One of many, but the one that comes to mind is recent. High school graduation, big moment for a lot of kids. For some, the pinnacle of their career, first high school graduates. For some, had a student that didn't make it, didn't pass all of the end of course exams that they needed to pass to be able to walk the stage with their peers. Emotional moment for lots of us, everybody pulling for this kid, tears. The kid, we're Sir Winston Churchill High School in San Antonio, Texas, and Sir Winston Churchill's famous saying is never, never, never give up. And so we've utilized that a lot in just cliche and also sometimes stuff that was, really, truly meaningful. And this kid said, I got you. I'm going to walk the stage at summer graduation. And we all, fingers crossed, said our prayers. And Tuesday night, the kid walked the stage, passed enough C's to be able to do it. And the part that I'm truly, truly proud about, not just the excitement from the family and the friends and the photos that we took, but the number of staff members that attended summer school graduation was truly heartfelt. Like, to get teachers to do anything sometimes after hours is difficult. To get administrators to do stuff after hours is difficult. But the number of people that came up during the summer to see this kiddo walk the stage and to cheer and yell and take pictures, truly a success story. Fills the bucket, makes you want to go back and do it again.
Awesome. Sometimes it's those kids that just you give it all you got, right? And oh my God, I have plenty of those stories too to share, but thank you for sharing that. Shae.
Mine's going to be a kid story too, just as we all have. I agree with Todd. Graduation is a big deal, and I was blessed to have my own kids go through school here. My daughter's going to be a senior here on my campus. My son graduated with a class of 23. And in his class, there was a kid that he kind of went to middle school with my son and all that, and he took a different route. My kiddo went the athletic route and all that, and this kid went way the other way. And he was kind of one of what I call a under the radar kid, kind of for a while, just not being successful, but not doing enough to really be on our radar. And then it all went south real quick. He got in a pretty bad relationship and all that kind of stuff. And for a couple of years, just kind of tried to mentor this guy, and he wasn't having it. And no male figure in his life, mom in prison, and lived with his grandma, all that kind of stuff. We fast forward to the senior year, and I just brought him in here, and he and I sat down and we talked and we cried and we said, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I said, but you got to buy in. I'm going to get you to the finish line, but you got to buy in. I can't do it by myself. And he bought in, and we got about to Christmas, and he said, you know what, I'm out. I really don't care. I'm just done. So I said, if you're out, that means I'm not going to check on you. You're on your own, buddy. Like there's no more help. Okay. So we went that tough love for about a month, and he started going south again. He came back and was like, I need you. And I said, let's do this. So it took all the way up to graduation day, but I helped him tie his tie, and we put on that cap and gown, and on graduation day, we walked the stage and we cried the stage together. So it was just it. I still talk to him today. I mean, like, I had to call him because he posted something on his Instagram, and I called him. I said, "Dude, what? Like, take it down. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
I raised you better than that." So,
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, Shae. Dr. White, what do you have? Do you have a success story for us?
Yeah, and it actually started off as I thought I had a failure. We had a new teacher, as I said, FOS, fresh off the street teacher. Had provided him with all the supports, the team teaching, had coaches in with him, had admin team go in with him, and he just wasn't getting it. I mean, we went through the first semester, we were into the third quarter, and I brought him in, and I told him, we've had a lot of conversations about you, and you're just not getting this piece, and I just need to understand what's going on. And he told me, he said, "Hey, this isn't what I thought it was going to be." He said, I didn't think teaching was going to be, this difficult or this much of a challenge. And I asked him, "Well, how can I support you? Because I think you're starting to see, and I'm starting to see that this may not be the thing for you." And he actually stepped down to become a TA. I recently received communication from him, and he thanked me. He said, "This was the greatest thing that I've ever done, because I'm in the right place now. I love the work that I'm doing. I look forward to going to school every day to support teachers. Teaching was not going to be my thing. I thank you for giving me the opportunity, for working with me, but I'm right where I need to be." And for me, that was I felt bad because I couldn't make him a great teacher, but I felt great because he found his niche. He found where he was supposed to be. So, once again, we should do everything that we can to train teachers up to be great. But if you realize and they realize that, hey, this is not for me, then accept that also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a great experience for me.
Gentlemen, real quick, what keeps you up at night about our profession?
It's a loaded question.
Exactly.
It's not going to last. It's not going to last.
What's not going to last, Martinez?
The education profession as we know it is not going to last.
Okay.
It's going to be similar to going to a store and seeing those automatic cashiers. There's no longer employees. It's going to be something similar to that.
You know what, Efrain? At NASSP in Nashville, there were some sessions that talk about that's the virtual route that it's going. There are a lot of people out there. If it's already at the national convention, the talk is out there. The talk is out there. And you know how everything starts with the talk. What about you, Todd?
Well, to build on Dr. Martinez, I think we're the only profession that didn't evolve.
You broke up.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Now we can, yeah.
I think we're the only profession that didn't evolve from COVID. What keeps me up is school safety. School safety keeps me up.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Shae Creel.
I agree with that.
I agree with Todd. School safety, and then it's really just the day is so packed. I mean, I think every night is different. Like, I stay up because of what's on my plate. I know coming the next day, and I can't even worry about the unknown because I know what's happening each day that I have to worry about. So, and I just don't sleep well. Period.
Fred.
What keeps me up is, the fact that education is consistently under attack. We don't have the support from politicians that we need. We don't have the support from parents that we need. We go in and we consistently do a thankless job because we love kids. Being in a field where, as you said, we were hit by COVID, and the only support you got was, hey, let's add more technology. but what did you do to support teachers?
Yeah.
What did you do to support schools to make sure that these institutions grow stronger from COVID? Like Todd said, we didn't evolve from COVID. We went through COVID, and now we're in a situation where we're dealing with the effects of COVID without the support. You throw money at it, but that's not what we need. So, just the constant non-support of education throughout our country.
Thank you.
Real quick, you guys, I know we're past our hour, but that's okay, because you know what, I'm super excited of the information we're getting from all of this. So just real quick, I know we're all trying to grow our PLNs, right? So how, or what recommendation do you give to the audience on how to grow their own PLN, and what organizations do you suggest educators should follow or join? So we'll start off with Dr. White.
I don't know. I think with me, I consistently I visit all podcasts. I mean, you never know when you're going to get a something or a nugget from somebody that changes everything in your world. So I don't limit myself to just one podcast or a couple of podcasts. I'll pick a Sunday and I'm just clicking. And my wife is better at it than me. She's a genius. She's also a principal, but she'll also tell me, "Hey, read this or look at this or send this out." I think just doing that piece, and also sharing your thoughts or making yourself accessible to new educators, to new principals. Any group that you can be a part of or give your thoughts to, do so. If you can write something, I commend all of the authors on here for writing and getting materials out. Go ahead and put the book up there for us. Yeah, go ahead, throw it up there. Yeah, so that's right. So anytime that you can share your thoughts with people so that people can see the mindset of people that are successful in this field, I think that's just a great thing. So my
Awesome.
advice is just consistently hit these geniuses on their podcasts.
You never know what you're going to hear.
Right.
Todd, what do you have?
Texas Association of Secondary School Principals, TSSP.
TASP.
Connected with Josh this summer, creeping on Shae's social media. Looked like he presented also at TSSP this summer. I'd also give a plug, not just for the June meetings, but also your regional meetings of your state organizations. Got Tennessee and Chicago. I'm sure they got state organizations that you can be a part of. But really, the state organizations have been great. I had a group called Raise Your Hand Texas that I'm a part of. Charles Butt funded that. Awesome. Been to Harvard twice. The symposiums that they have is just really, really good stuff that they have. Shout out to Josh. Josh is doing a real neat invisible paycheck. Yes, to you, my friend. A little bit of 9 or 10 minutes of just kind of his thoughts on why we should stay in the profession. And so really, as we're looking at podcasts and looking at pushing ourselves to be better, there's so many podcasts out there. And I think, Dr. White, you made a comment like on Sundays, you kind of punch through 3 or 4 and find the ones that you need. And so shout out to Josh. Josh is doing something that's pushing our thinking. So not
Way
just
to go, Josh.
Yes.
Way to go. Shae.
I think for me is I really like when we have opportunities like this to collaborate. I think we get bogged down in going to professional development and all that kind of stuff to see what's the next best great thing or whatever the district wants to roll out or the state wants us to roll out. But I think having, real conversations with people that are in the trenches and doing this job every day is the most important thing for me. And I think that's why probably my table at PD or at places may get in trouble or may get the side eye because we're having side conversations. We're not off topic, really. We're talking education, but we're actually collaborating. And then when it comes to social media, just following a lot of different people. But for me, when it comes to podcast, I really try to get outside of education and follow some different people with their podcast. And, like Ed Milet. He's not necessarily in education, but just listening to that guy and the different people he has on, I can take their stories or take what he's talking about and flip it and scrub it into what I need it to be in the educational realm. And so I really try to push myself outside of what I do in my job and get a different perspective that I can kind of twist into what I do.
I like that idea. Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Martinez, we're going to end with you, sir.
So I secretly envy my colleagues who go to conferences. I don't know, maybe I'm in the wrong district that we don't have that funding, so I get to go to one conference a year. But it works because even though I work as an extrovert, as a principal, in my private life, I'm an introvert. So I tend not to go to conference and I'm like quiet on my corner. I think that I will agree with Shae. Expanding your horizons with the podcasting and the readings outside of education can truly influence the world of education. So, for example, in my own podcast, I did an episode on the time Lyndon Johnson, the president, the time he served as a principal, right? Like, what are the lessons learned from him doing that job actually in Texas? Or, for example, what are the extract the religion from this Bible story of Cain and Abel? Like, how do you support a parent that is raising a Cain and Abel in their own home? How can we extract the learning from that story? So I did an episode on that. So I think that there's so much more than curriculum and instruction and HR and we are talking about the lives of people that you have to work with, and people come with so many baggages. And if you can serve as that conduit of processing information, I think that you can serve your people better.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I kept this comment out there in Efrain back in the Stone Age when I started to go to conferences. One of the earliest ones at NASSP was in Vegas. One of the presenters says, when I began doing this, I used to self-fund to go to conferences. And I thought it like, you're crazy. I ain't going to be paying for this. As you mature and you hit your face with experience in life, as you mature and you get different levels of leadership, I understand that concept now. And last year, I went to this conference right here for North Carolina Middle School, and it was top notch. It was, I compared it that year to NASSP, and I went to it. I paid for it. I'm going to go again this year because of the lineup that's coming up. And it's one of those things that make you a better version of yourself. Because if we tell that to our team members, we tell that to our students who have a growth mindset, we need to make sure we practice what we preach. But without further ado, this is the way we're going to finish because we're already starting and it's that time and we're going to echarle ganas. Remember, ganas is a spiritual word for Hispanics. It is a word that transcends generations. The abuelita of the abuelita of the abuelita used to tell that down the line. It's a cultural word. It does not equate. There is no other word in English that can totally grasp the meaning of ganas. And so when you hear that word from a grandma or from a mom in your office, know that she's talking not through herself, but through eons of Hispanics. Doesn't matter if it's Guatemaltecos, El Salvadoreños, Nicaraguenses, Colombianos, Mexicanos. When you use that word, it's an inspirational word. So it's now you, gentlemen, it's time for you to inspire those educators that are starting this week. They're starting this week, whether you want to or not, they're coming. So remember, this is a lightning round, the Échale Ganas lightning round. And we're going to start off with the man that runs a city, 3,000 Mustangs, plus faculty and staff. And they're even more than 3,000 this year. What's your count right now, Creel?
I looked on Friday. I think it was like 3,012, I think.
Well, there we go. Just a little bit.
Just
not
a little
that
bit
much.
over.
So here we go. Get ready. Don't. I don't want to hear War and Peace. It's got to be quick. It's got to be that coach. All right, here we go, coach. Give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
New advice to a new teacher. I would say this: be you. Get in there. Don't be scared. Jump in and just be you. Be transparent and let them see the real you, because they're going to figure it out if you're not right with them. So just be you.
Read a note, an email, or a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
Ooh. Okay. I got one.
Yomi Stadium, student, do your homework.
I got it right here. This was when I was teaching and coaching. You were my PE coach at Cole Middle School. I hated school, but you were one of the few teachers whose kindness and guidance helped me to see my own value. I was on the fast track to be a burnout, and you see that. You genuinely cared. You made me feel heard. I'm a teacher at Lake Highlands High School now, and as you unknowingly have passed the torch to this new generation of educators, such as myself. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being a safe place to speak. Thank you for seeing my potential when no one else did. I became a teacher so that I can continue to be the teacher who notices the quiet kid, the seemingly troubled kid, the kid that has already been written off as a lost cause, because that is what you did for me, and I'll never forget it. Thank you.
Woo! Esas son ganas. I love it. Send some flowers, Creel, to a current educator that inspires you. And why are you sending the flowers?
I would send them. I'd probably send them to Dr. Russell, who left our district recently. I would send them to her just because she was a parent for me, but she was also my boss. And it's just one of those that we could have real conversations with real words, good and bad. So I'd send them to Dr. Russell probably right now.
Yes, real words. All right. Also, who should the audience follow, Creel?
Oh, besides the people on this call, because I've already tried to follow everybody on here. I really like to follow. I like Brad Johnson. I follow Brad Johnson a lot and what he does. So I would say Brad Johnson, if you don't already.
All right. One song, Creel, that embodies Shae. One song, una canción.
Well, I'm going to go with another in the Fire by Hillsong, because you're never alone. If you look at it from a spiritual side, there's somebody else in the fire with you. And then when you take it into your job, I don't ever feel like I'm alone and doing it by myself. I've got my teachers, my kids, my APs with me. So another in the fire would be what I go with.
How can people reach you? They want to learn how to run a 3,000 kid school.
Oh, you can reach me on all the social medias. Dallas Texans, that's the old coaching days. I just never lost it. Dallas Texans 1 on X or Twitter or whatever, Instagram, Facebook, Shae Creel. I'm here at Saxe High School. Like I'm here now on a Sunday. So
Then make sure you follow, guys. If you want to learn how to run a school, right there. That's the cat right there. Dr. Frederick White, here we go. It's time to echarle ganas. Give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
To both, I would just tell them to find something that refuels them, that keeps their passion up on a consistent basis, because you're always challenged. You always have those things that are trying to put that fire out. So make sure you have something in your wheelhouse that re-energizes you, that keeps you going, that motivates you, that makes you want to come to work each and every day.
Read a note, an email, or a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
One of my students simply sent me a text and said that he had added me to his dissertation because of the love and structure that I provided for them. And I thought that was crazy, but I loved it.
Esas son ganas. Woo! Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you. And why do they inspire you, Fred?
Besides my wife, of course, I think right now I have to send that to our current superintendent here in Shelby County Schools, Dr. Fagan, because she's a brand new superintendent for us. She has a lot of challenges, and it's a lot of hard work. I don't know if she's getting all the support that she needs, but I think she is moving with our kids in mind. And I always pray for the success of our heads so that the body will follow.
Love that.
Who should the audience follow? Name one person.
Besides you, I definitely would tell them to follow our district, Shelby County Schools, Memphis Shelby County Schools. We're doing some great things here. We have some great leaders here, some great opportunities for growth, leadership, and teachers.
One song, Fred, one song that embodies your spirit.
Champion by Carrie Underwood. That song is a consistent motivation. I tell my kids every day, man, you're a champion. I just need you to understand that, be it in sports, be it in education, be it in life, you are a champion. I need to see that out of you each and every day.
How can people reach you?
FD White 02 on all of the platforms.
Perfect. Efrain, ¿estás listo con las ganas? ¿Estás listo?
Órale, vamos.
Here we go. Give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
I will tell them, play with the cards you got.
Read a note, an email, or text from a teacher, a student that inspires you.
This is one of those people that became principal. I have some news to share. I'm the new principal of X. Just got the call. I am so thankful for your leadership and inspiration. You have always believed in me, guided me, and given me so many opportunities. Thank you for being an incredible mentor to me and inspiring me to be a school leader. I wouldn't be here without you.
Aww.
Wow. Eso. Who should people follow?
They should follow Tim Ferriss.
Who?
Tim Ferriss is a podcaster.
All right, got it. Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
Definitely my supervisor, Katie Lyons, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning. What
Why?
a model educator. She has been like one of those people that can talk to you in that nurturing way, even when you mess up.
Love it.
Good.
One song, una canción, amigo, no más una, that embodies you, your essence.
It's not a PG song, but it's Don't Stop Me Now by Queen.
All right. How can people reach you?
Wisdomandproductivity.com.
Tell them about your podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
Wisdom and Productivity.
Yeah, well, you got to let them know that. You can't assume that they're going to know that. There you
Absolutely.
go. Perfect. Hey, Fred, your book, you got to handy the book that you wrote? You got it around there?
I'll have it before we get off the.
Okay, go. Okay, well, I'm coming back to you. Todd Bloomer, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
Surround yourself with great people.
Perfect. Read a note, an email, or a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
Over the last 2 years, I've received a text from a parent each time they've traveled abroad over the summer to something that relates to our high school. I totally forgot. And about a week ago, I received a text from the family who had went to the Cayman Islands and found a reference to Winston Churchill in the Cayman Islands. And I just thought that was so neat that they thought of me as they were traveling with something. And it really just, kind of warmed my heart.
Beautiful. Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you and why.
My secretary, Terry Moran, right and left hand, heartbeat of the school, really the pulse of the campus, keeps me in line, and she's crazy. So love her to death.
Who should the audience follow, sir? Say somebody.
Darren Peppard, somebody Josh, me and you both know and love. Darren Peppard's a great resource for all of us to follow.
Yes, we brought him to MPA a couple of weeks ago. He presented to our staff PD. Awesome. One song that embodies your essence, sir. One song.
One that I'm really kind of thinking about now is a Tom Petty song, and it's called Crawling Back to You. And really, there's some lyrics in there that really help me because he talks about most of what I worry about never actually comes true. And I think if we're going to get deep and philosophical and talk about what keeps us up, like we worry about a lot of things that don't actually come through.
Yeah.
So, but that's the nature of our job. So, Tom Petty.
How can people reach you and learn from you?
Bloomer_SA at Twitter, X, and toddmbloomer.com. Got a website. Check it out.
You got a copy of the book?
I do not have a hard copy of the book yet, but I would love if y'all would look in the next couple weeks on social media. Got a book called The Blueprint coming out. It's How to Survive and Thrive as an Administrator. Josh is going to write some advanced praise for me, as soon as the episode is over, because the deadline is tonight, as we joked earlier. But it's about 10 years of being a principal at a middle school and a high school, a lot of successes and quite a few failures, advice, support. It's kind of exciting. It's coming together, and I'm really looking forward to it. The blueprint. Thanks,
Fred, right there. What is it called? Raise it, pick it up a little bit.
Sorry, Labyrinth of Leadership. It's a guide through the maze of leadership, compiled with over 15 different authors or leaders throughout the country. So, it's available on Amazon. Take a read, answers a lot of different questions. If you're new in leadership or you're a veteran, it just gives you a pathway.
Perfect. Awesome. What a great show. Remember, I take advice from the best. I only learn from the best, and that is Joe Rogan. And the show will go as long as the show goes, because that's where the talk is. It doesn't matter about 30 minutes or 40. It's about getting the knowledge out. And look at right here, just like Dr. Moreno said, think about all the experience. Think about the authors. Think of all these people that speak at conferences. Think of all the podcasts that they run, and you got it today for free. For free on the PGP podcast. And that's the purpose of this, so that there's a novice, that we have this exodus of educators coming out. They come back and they find one place, one area to get all of these educators, to get all of this knowledge. And you can only bring it by having people that walk the walk. Not 10 years ago, not 30 years ago, but they're walking the walk, and their hands are dirty. They're living through everything. So we need you to be part of this conversation. We need you to like and share this. And I said on our post, if you want to have one of these cool, I'll mail it out to you. I'll be mailing out some of these shirts out there. You want one of these cool Ganas, and I got Fantastic Four in the very back. You want to like and share this episode, and I'll do one of those little electronic wheels. I'm an abacus guy, and I'll select the name, and I'll reach out to you via your social media. If you're not on social media, go to the red box, because I can't reach you. But if you are, and you like it and you share it, I will reach out to you, and I will DM you and ask for your address so we could get it back. Next week, Sean Kane, Fundamental 5, not only Fundamental 5, but he will be presenting his brand new book on how to coach our team members. And after that, remember, we have administrators that write kid books. And after that, our very first teacher roundtable. And I think there might be a young man from Saxy joining us on that podcast. I don't know, but he's scheduled to come and join us, part of the PGP podcast. Thank you, everybody. Everybody stay on the call. I appreciate you. Like and share it, because remember that iron sharpens iron. Y aquí nomás le echamos puras ganas.